We have major updates on this Miami Heat team, including Jimmy Butler's injury, Caleb Martin's repercussions for the foul at the end of Game 1 against Jayson Tatum, and finally, consensus picks and season awards presented to Eric Spoelstra and Bam Adebayo. We'll break down all of these things on this episode of Heat Digest, where we create daily Miami Heat content. So if that interests you, subscribe to the channel, as 85.5% of you guys currently watching this video are not currently subscribed. We are on the road to 1,300 subscribers. We're actually just less than 10 subscribers away, so go down if you're a part of that 85% and click that subscribe button. It means the world to us over here at Heat Digest, seeing all the love and support that you guys do show us. So thank you guys once again for all of that love and support. But now let's get to it and break down all of the crazy news coming out about this Miami Heat team. And we're going to start with Jimmy Butler and just addressing how tough this guy actually is. Now, this tweet came out by the NBA Central, and they were retweeting or requoting, if you will, Shams Charani's tweet that he put out about Jimmy Butler, in this quote from Shams about Jimmy, saying, and I quote, "It's crazy to me that Jimmy Butler played 3 quarters with what I'm hearing now was a severe MCL sprain. He is not going to be back in this series." That is the end of the quote from Shams about Jimmy Butler and his injury that he's dealing with right now. Obviously, at the end of the first quarter in the first round of the play-in games for this Miami Heat team, we were in Philadelphia in a very back-and-forth, hectic, just must-win game for this Miami Heat team in order to clinch the 7th spot in the Eastern Conference and be in a 7-game series with the New York Knicks. Obviously, we did not win that game. We went on to on to Chicago to play the Chicago Bulls. We hosted the Chicago Bulls. I'm all over the place. We beat the Chicago Bulls, and we took on the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference, the final spot now where we are currently at, facing off against these Boston Celtics. Now, Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler, he was injured at the end of that first quarter, basically at the buzzer. We've reviewed this a few times now, but he got an outlet pass from a made floater from Tyrese Maxey that Kevin Love basically pulled out of the net and outletted to Jimmy Butler at the other end of the floor with just a few seconds left in that first quarter. He took a few dribbles, pump faked, got Kelly Oubre in the air, who was attempting to make a great defensive effort and chase down, block Jimmy Butler's attempt at the rim, and in the process of Jimmy Butler getting him in the air, then went up to cause the contact, and in the process of coming back down, he twisted that right knee, and it resulted in a severe MCL sprain. But you wouldn't know it was severe, as Jimmy Butler went on to play the next 3 quarters with this MCL sprain. This is his box score from that game. Obviously, if we just acknowledge the fact that he played 40 minutes of basketball. I don't understand how he did it. Obviously, when watching this game, the first few possessions after he went down and he was screaming in pain, we heard Doris Burke and JJ Redick both make the comments about the audible scream we heard from Jimmy Butler when he went down initially. And we could tell he wasn't moving right. There was a bit of a limp, but after a few possessions, we noticed that Jimmy Butler seemed like he was doing just fine and things were getting right back to normal. Then he came out in that second half, and it seemed like things really were starting to labor on him in that right knee. And we could kind of tell that he didn't have the explosion that he had early on that game, obviously before the injury, and then soon after, a few possessions after the injury took place, and he started to move pretty decently. Again, he did end up playing the rest of that game in a losing effort for the Miami Heat, 104-105 over the Philadelphia 76ers. But once again, just highlighting how freaking tough Jimmy Butler really is after playing with what is now being labeled as a severe MCL sprain, as when it initially came out, it seemed like it wasn't as severe as it is now being listed. And again, credit to Jimmy Butler and cheers to Jimmy Butler for being so freaking tough. Obviously, it did not result in a Miami Heat win, unfortunately, but again, Jimmy Butler, you cannot question his overall toughness night in and night out. Now let's get to it and break down Caleb Martin's repercussions, as after Game 1 on Sunday, just a night ago in Boston, we know about the late foul that took place between Caleb Martin and Jayson Tatum. We just highlighted it in the last video here on Heat Digest, so if you have not seen it, I played the clip a handful of times. If you go back and see it, it is there on the Heat Digest channel. Is the video most recent before this one, and we clearly see Jrue Holiday push Caleb Martin in the back, who was streaking down the floor looking to make to make a rebounding play. Obviously, Tatum was already down there contesting the shot against that Bam Adebayo did take from right about the free throw line, extended, if not a step inside the free throw line. He missed it off the back rim. It popped up in the air for a big rebound. Jayson Tatum did go up. Caleb Martin, who seemed like he was going up for that rebound, was pushed in the back, changed his trajectory, and he did end up hitting Jayson Tatum in the back, resulted in a scary fall. Not what you want to see, but again, it was blatant that he was pushed in the back. It was blatant that he was not aiming for Jayson Tatum, but because of the shove, he ended up running into Jayson Tatum. Now, NBA Central posted this, saying the NBA will not upgrade Caleb Martin's foul on Jayson Tatum to a flagrant or a suspension. Again, per Gouache Burn Globe on Twitter. This is huge news for the Miami Heat. Obviously, Caleb Martin has not been the greatest player in this playoff. It's only a game in, obviously, against this Boston Celtic team. But Caleb Martin has not been the greatest player. But we know him to be that role player, that scrappy player for this Miami Heat team that hits open threes, plays really, really hard on both ends of the floor, and really just does the scrappy things that we need from these Miami Heat role players. And again, Caleb Martin, who has started a bunch of games for this Miami Heat team, not only this season, but in the playoffs, in the play-in. He's a key piece, and again, he's not going to break the box score and really wow you with his overall performance in the sense of what numbers he puts up, but overall the energy and the effort that he gives the Miami Heat team is crucial to this Miami Heat team, especially lacking players like Jimmy Butler, Josh Richardson, and Terry Rozier. So once again, I'm glad to see that the NBA acknowledged the fact that Caleb Martin definitely wasn't doing this out of malicious intent, and things were now going to just maintain. And obviously, there's going to be chippiness between the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. But again, with or without this injury, or without this foul occurring from Caleb Martin to Jayson Tatum, the chippiness was going to translate from game to game because it's the Miami Heat against the Boston Celtics, and the Celtics are playing with revenge, and the Heat are playing with as much effort as they can, playing shorthanded against a team in Boston that has been really the runaway best team in the entire NBA all season long based off of record and really overall performance. And then finally, to close out this video, we're going to acknowledge the season awards for Miami and a consensus pick presented by really the overall coaches and players in the NBA. And the first things first is going to be Eric Spoelstra being voted the top coach the players would want to play for. Current coach you'd most want to play for, according to NBA player poll via The Athletic. This is tweeted by Heat Nation. Heat versus Haters on Twitter is the handle. Again, this was tweeted this morning. And are you surprised? Let's be honest. Are you actually surprised someone like Eric Spoelstra won this award? Obviously, he has not won an actual Coach of the Year, but he has won a co-Coach of the Year in 2016-2017. And besides that, look at the list of accolades. Coaches of the Month, just over and over and over again in 2021, 2022. At the end of that season, he was elected one of the 15 greatest coaches in NBA history. That is one of the craziest accolades a NBA coach can to really accept. And just to point out this NBA season and not really just highlight what stats and what accolades he has won throughout his long career as an NBA coach. This season alone, Eric Spoelstra and the Miami Heat have used 35 different starting lineups. That is the most in the NBA, and to be fair, it's the most by any team with a winning record this year, as I believe Charlotte was the only team really competing with the Miami Heat in a total amount of different creations of NBA lineups, or at least starting lineups with their teams. Obviously, the Miami Heat were the leaders at 35 different total lineups. And things continue to go on and change for this Miami Heat team as in the playoffs. Again, we are still shorthanded, and we have to make good with what we have. And we still see someone in Eric Spoelstra present the best foot they have night in and night out and really give this Miami Heat team the best chance to win night in and night out. 35 different starting lineups to still go 46-36. Again, not the greatest record overall. Again, we barely got into the playoffs, winning the second round of the play-in game for this Miami Heat team to get into that final 8th spot and get this series against this Boston Celtic team that, again, is not going to be easy. But to even be in the position we are, playing with 35 different starting lineups, due to the fact that we were riddled with injuries from the start of this year until the end of this year, up until this current day, April 22nd, 82 games in, and now what are we at? 84, 5 games in. This Miami Heat team has done nothing but battle and really just do as good as they possibly could with what they have. night in and night out, and Eric Spoelstra once again being highlighted for just how great of a head coach he is. And it's not over there, as Bam Adebayo is one of the 3 finalists for the Defensive Player of the Year this year, alongside Rudy Gobert, a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year, and Victor Wembanyama, the only rookie in the Defensive Player of the Year finalist, or really even the running. He's going to be the Rookie of the Year. There's not a chance in hell anyone else wins it, as he has been simply freakish all year long. I would not be surprised if any of the 3 players listed won the Defensive Player of the Year. I know Rudy Gobert has won it a lot more than really anyone else. This will be his 4th, I believe, all time in total Defensive Player of the Years awarded to him. Again, that would be record setting, but again, he, because of the amount of times he's won it, he might get the LeBron treatment, that where he's won it so many times they feel like they have to mix it up. Again, that's not the way it should work, but again, it feels like there is some of that going on year to year in these award ceremonies. Wembanyama, again, you can make a case he could win it, as he had just ridiculous numbers this year, not only on the offensive end but on the defensive end, and he's such a alien, such a lizard-esque type of player, that he has the ability to be that hybrid that moves all around the floor, blocking shots from outside the three-point line and definitely being a shot blocker near the rim. He's just simply dominant. And then for Bam Adebayo, the biggest difference, I believe, for Bam compared to these two is that this guy can step out on the wing and he can simply play elite-level defense, no matter if it's a guard, a forward, or even a center in front of him outside that three-point line, on the perimeter, or anywhere within the three-point line. Obviously, as closer and closer to the rim that you get, it seems like Bam's defense gets better and better. His ability to move his feet laterally, move with players that are smaller than him, quicker than him. He is still able to stay up with them and move laterally to cut them off going to the basket. And really, he has been the highlight defensively for this Miami Heat team. Obviously, it's more of a team effort, as we play a lot of zone, a lot more than really anyone else in the NBA. And because of that, we see a lot of steals. We see a lot of good high-energy defense, and that really fuels this Miami Heat team. But at the anchor of it, the main source of that defensive energy is definitely Bam Adebayo, as he's been doing it all year long for this Miami Heat team. And because of it, he is now being acknowledged, and he's in the running, and he's one of the finalists for this Defensive Player of the Year. For his stats, yes, these are year by year. If we look at the bottom, the 2023-2024 stats, he's averaged 19 points, but we're here for the defense. He's averaging 1.1 steals, which is not a career best for him, but again, another great year. And then for the blocks at 0.9, again, it's just under that 1 block a game average. And that is not the main reason. It's not the numbers. It's not the stats. That is why Bam Adebayo is in the finalists for the top 3 of the Defensive Player of the Year voting. It's due to the fact that he has such a amphibious and hybrid-esque type of ability to defend on the floor. Again, it doesn't matter if you guys run, if he's listed at the 4 or the 5 that night. It doesn't matter if he's guarding your 4 or the 5 and you guys run these pick and rolls and these screen plays in order to get Bam switched onto your guards, because you guys will not have the advantage at that point. Bam Adebayo will still have a great chance and great ability to limit whoever he is guarding, whether it be your 5, or your 4, your 1, 2, or your 3, and whether or not he's out the perimeter or inside that three-point line, he is going to be a menace on the defensive end, and he has shown that year after year and game after game, especially this year for this Miami Heat team. But again, that'll be it for this episode of Heat Digest. Let me know down in the comments, do you think Bam Adebayo will win the Defensive Player of the Year this year, or do you think Eric Spoelstra should be in the running for Coach of the Year this year? Let me know down in the comments. That'll be it for this episode of Heat Digest. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you guys for watching.